Welcome to the Simply Wild podcast. I'm your host, Sadie Jane, and girl, we are having a pajama day. I don't even know the last time I washed my hair. I have sick babes. They're getting better now. But we've just been in it. January was 300 years long, but today is February 1st, and actually I feel really good. If you're watching this on YouTube, you might be surprised because I'm definitely in my natural era for this episode, but it's February 1st. Can't you feel it? Can you feel the energy? I felt extremely different when I woke up this morning than I had at the end of January. There was some interesting energy there. Did you feel it? So February 1st for me, the beginning of every month for me is all about the cleansing and clearing. In fact, usually when I'm feeling it, I'll clean specific places in my house that mean a lot to me. This isn't the theme of the podcast, by the way, but I just feel like I need to just share this. So the first of the month, I'm always cleaning and clearing, always. So I do this really beautiful cinnamon ritual where I blow cinnamon in my front door, and it's all about calling in abundance for that month. I love it. People think it's totally weird, and they're like, "You're going to get ants," and that seems really, it just seems irresponsible. And I'm like, you know what? I don't care because I feel like I live a really beautiful, abundant life and I love these rituals. The other thing I do is I have different altars in my home that feel into the energy of different places in my body and to, different things for our home. And there's a specific altar right in front of me, actually, in front of the window for my office, in our office. And it's really, really important and special to me. And I haven't cleaned it and cleared it and reset it since, oh man, I don't even remember, maybe last fall or when I got back from Scotland last year. Anyway, it was due. It was due for a cleaning and clearing. So I just finished that. We're actually headed out to St. George in soon, a couple hours for Reagan's soccer tournament. My daughter, who's 13, she's on a soccer comp team, and we're going down there to do a competition for her. So rather than spending time taking a shower, getting ready, and then feeling stressed and frustrated and overwhelmed about recording a podcast within that stress and then having to leave, I just feel like now is the time and it's the perfect time. So, hi, welcome. I'm really excited to share all about where the hell I was for 2 weeks and a little bit about what I think, why it's important to always learn, to always learn. So I turned 36 January 3rd. And I thought I had all these different, elaborate, beautiful ideas for my birthday. But it's so funny because the second I heard about this training, everything dropped. Like I was going to potentially go down to Tulum to see Rufus. I don't know if you even know who Rufus is. They're an incredible band. I just wanted to really anchor in this year because, for my podcast a couple podcasts ago that it's an important year for me. But then I got personally invited to come to this training and I was like, okay, well, throw everything else out the window. So you guys know, I've been apprenticing in the plant medicine space for about 4 years. I hold my own ceremonies. I facilitate my own ceremonies with many different modalities of medicine. And I have learned from incredible, incredible elders. And one of them is Ama Sophia Rose, and also with Rainbow and Arrow, who are the shamans, the guides, the facilitators who come and help at Medicina, Simply Wild Medicina. So they were putting together a facilitator training. And I have been wanting to not just meet Ama Sophia Rose in person, but go to one of her trainings for years. Her and I have known each other for a couple years. She's just an incredible guide. She's from the Native American Mexican lineage, and I just feel so honored to have her on my side to teach me, to call her an elder. And when I say on my side, I literally mean beside me, helping me grow, helping me learn. And this was a 2-week training. Never have I ever done a 2-week training. The only time I've ever been away from my kids for 2 weeks was in Scotland. And it was too much. It was too long. It was life-changing. It was crazy and it was too long. So I was really hesitant. And Jeff was like, this is literally why we do what we do. I left my corporate job. We work together. I can be with the kids. This is your birthday. If this is necessary, do it. For me, continuing education or investing in myself is one of the most important things I could do for myself. So rather than investing money or doing things differently, and of course, investing in yourself could be literally a million things. It could be literally, going and get a hotel room by yourself, or doing a continuing education, or buying a course, or getting a coach, whatever it is. But I can easily say that my life has been profoundly changed because of investing in myself, taking a chance on myself, and getting to know myself. And I think there comes, a lot of not just respect for the frequencies you're working with and the medicines that I'm working with, but also, a humility to be always a student. It's interesting how, at least for me, when I've gone into all these different avenues, as I've learned many, many years ago when I did my first yoga teacher training, and the teacher that I had, and how, the phrase in that specific yoga teacher training was, you are your own guru. And yet, how many of the students, including myself, put him on the pedestal, at least for a fraction of a moment. And I've noticed, as I've continued to grow and educate myself, I find that I have been learning that over and over again, of we really are our own gurus. And with that, we have a responsibility to continue that trajectory. I think that, unfortunately, well, I guess it's good and bad, but the foundation of education, the foundation of a PhD, or foundation of a bachelor's degree, or whatever it is, has almost taken away the precedence of education for all of us. And so when we get that, or when someone else gets that, it's like, oh, okay, they've peaked, or oh, okay, they're done. But just like nutrition, just like working out, just like movement, just like sex, just like anything that we fuel our body with, education is just as important. And being able to continue to push myself and teach myself. So we, in my opinion, have to take that into our hands. It's the greatest gift. In fact, anything can be education, from a plant medicine experience to a really great fictional novel, right? To a delicious meal that you've tried, or a restaurant you want to go to. You're consistently educating yourself by trying new things, by being curious. So I have always tried to continue to be open to say, okay, what can I learn next? And what can I learn next? And how can I get better at this? And I think that I put myself at maybe a higher caliber. I don't know. I'm not looking at anybody or what they're doing or their education. But for me, it feels so important because of the containers I hold, because of the caliber that I require for myself, because I've said yes to holding space at Simply Wild Medicina. That's a lot of energy to say yes to be a conduit for. And all the other containers that I have, and all the women that I work with, the powerful women and the powerful, intentions that they have, and the dreams and their goals. So for me, I'm like, okay, it requires an amount of discipline that I think is really important. And it doesn't have to be scary or weird or intense or stiff or rigid. In fact, it's really fun. I had a lot of fun at this training, which was also incredible medicine. Because for a long time it was like, okay, if I'm learning, it's by two ways: rigidity, like rigid education, like by a book or somebody telling me this is the way to do it, or by a really painful experience. I thought in order to really learn a lesson, I had to go through the depths of learning that through almost like a pain to purpose, or like a phoenix rising, or man, this is so hard. Why can't I learn an easier way? I refuse to believe that anymore. I refuse to believe it has to be difficult. Especially if you're really understanding the cues of the lesson that you're supposed to be learning. If you can really tap into that, the lesson can be learned faster, rather than the universe saying, oh my gosh, you are not getting it. Okay, let's go again. Let's go again. And knocking on your door and knocking on it, or pulling a string until your whole shirt's unraveled, or poking at the bear again and again until you literally lose your shit. The more you become in tune with the way that you learn, or the lessons of the universe, or what you're supposed to learn here, or maybe even learning more, and being okay with, releasing this hesitation to do so, it becomes easier. So I say yes to this. And, on the terms, or on the topic of release, I didn't really know what to expect. It was the first time that they had done that specific training. And I just feel so lucky. This is kind of a side note, but I feel so lucky that I was able to I literally just got so lucky to find the teachers that I have, especially in this like metaphysical, spiritual plant medicine space. Now, I've had teachers that have kind of come and gone, but the basis, the foundation of the teachers that I have been with me since the moment I stepped in my first grandmother ceremony. And there's just no coincidences. It was so divinely guided, and it's just continued to weave these insane connections that I just know I was supposed to find and trust that. And I didn't see that at the time. There's been a lot of unknowns or a lot of hoping, hoping that I'm on the right path. And then it all opens up. I actually had this whole talk today on my Instagram about this, about like the ceremony of life and being in that space of like trust and the letting go, the stage of ceremony where you're in like this deep holding on and wanting to control rather than just like letting go and surrendering. If I have a time at the end of this podcast, I'll share that because I do think it's important to talk about it. And it's so prolific for me right now because I'm definitely in that frequency right now with this launch of Sacred Rebels. So let's go back really quick to the retreat. I have so much to share and also so little because there was a lot of reasons that I shouldn't have gone because of the time, right? And because of the time of year. And it was right before I was launching my biggest launch of the year and all of these things. And I still didn't know, almost like to a couple days in, like, why am I here? Why am I here? But it's so interesting what happens when you just trust that. And I honestly feel like some of the times, if not most of the time, we don't know why we do something until literally years later. Like I'm still integrating moments where I'm like, oh, that's why. Oh, it comes full circle. So I know this sounds dramatic, but I genuinely feel like everything that I have done, every experience, every plant medicine experience, everything I've done has helped lead me up to preparing for this training. And then it was so crazy because after a few days in and really settling in and really allowing myself to release and trust that I was meant to be there, all of these things, all of these crazy coincidences started coming in. These just like insane, crazy coincidences where I'm like, oh, this is why, and this is why, and this is why. And one of those was BUFO. Now I actually don't really know a lot about BUFO, and I don't even want to be the one educating on that. In fact, I think we should have Amma come on. I'm definitely going to have her on the podcast. So maybe we'll have her like share a little bit about it. I know obviously it's from a frog, a toad. See, I don't even know the difference. This is how little I should be educating you on this, but I'm just coming from like straight vulnerability. I have never felt called to BUFO, okay? And I now know why. Because I genuinely could not imagine sitting with anybody else, literally, other than Amma, because it is because it is such an intense, powerful medicine. Dare I say, the most powerful plant medicine. It's not a plant, it's an animal. The most powerful, potent medicine from the earth ever. This is just my opinion. If you believe differently, I honor that. Little did I know that Amma serves BUFO. It's like her medicine. She's served many medicines before, but now that's her number one medicine. And we were sitting in this, she's got this property that's like so insane. And she just got this beautiful like glass dome, and she calls it Pele's temple, the goddess Pele, which is the goddess of fire and lava. And she lives on the island of Hawaii, and the rocks are her children, and you have to respect her. She's an incredibly powerful energy, and you could feel her in this space. In fact, the whole retreat center was all dedicated around the goddesses, around honoring the different goddesses. And that's what one thing that I love about Alma so much is that she is literally the keeper of these goddess codes, of Christus Sophia and Kuan Yin, which actually is crazy because Kuan Yin, this statue I felt called to get this statue just a few months ago. And in my BUFO ceremony, Kuan Yin, this exact statue was literally right above me in the ceremony space. It was just a crazy coincidence. But she has different pieces in her, like on her property, like different temples dedicated to different goddesses. And I've been in, deep teaching of different goddesses, because growing up, I never was taught about the goddess ever, even Heavenly Mother. And so even just like rewriting my story about Mary and Mary Magdalene, and then understanding all of these different goddesses, Hathor, Isis, Demeter, learning about Kuan Yin, learning about the Temple of Isis, or Egyptian goddesses, learning about all these different Pele, for example, like all these different powerful, incredible guides, these women, these goddesses, and seeing them is such a beautiful example to me. And even so much so that I've been in like really deep prayer of calling them in for many years. I'll call in like Joan of Arc. I'll call in even Florence Nightingale, who's the very first nurse. When my kids are sick, like I'll call in different frequencies of different goddesses that came before me, different rebels that came before me that I feel like I want to harness at this any particular time. Or if I'm, sitting in a space or getting ready to facilitate something or getting ready to teach something, and I want to call on a specific goddess to help me feel her energy, I'll call upon her. And of course, that includes the gods as well. The ever-knowing God, or Great Spirit, Great Mystery, or Yeshua, or Buddha, all of these different beautiful ascended masters. And really her property was such a manifestation of that. It was so beautiful. And I don't even know how to explain just how beautiful it is. So she is the creator of the crystal bowl chalice. I wish I had it over here to show you these insane, stunning crystal bowls. She uses the Andara crystals, which she gets from Bali, and she makes yoni wands, the only yoni wands I use, and crystals, different shapes. Like you can get a dolphin one or a dragon or whatever. But I say that because she has just her property just adorned, and every single piece is so beautifully, intricately put together with goddess material, with crystals or with incense or with offerings. Such a beautiful it's just such a beautiful um, manifestation and example of really feeling the temple that is you manifested in the temple that is your home. And, I am definitely on the edge of a new creation of calling in a retreat center. I've been wanting it for years now. And it was just really beautiful to feel the frequency of her retreat center, and of her space that she created. It unlocked something really powerful, where it was like unlocking codes of physical product for me, because I have had such a hard time with the physical product of my period underwear. When I get a shipment in, it sells immediately. Like the quality is incredible, but it's just been so difficult to get it in. It just takes so long to produce. And so I didn't know I wanted this, but it was a huge reason why I went there, to see that it can be easy. And that's it. I don't even know what that means. I haven't integrated that. In fact, I came home from that and I had issues with my warehouse, that I really actually had to just like step into the Pele energy and say, listen, we can't do this anymore. And maybe that was the integration, and I'm just like integrating it right now. But being able to feel the frequency of the goddess in such a powerful, strong, accountable way was something I've never felt before. And seeing her in her goddess energy, it was very clear why I chose her, why I've chosen her as an elder for me, to really understand that my intensity, my passion, and my power isn't something that I should hide anymore, and isn't something that I need to apologize for. And I was really able to integrate that with fixing some things and standing up for myself for the period underwear. So look out for that. I wasn't planning on sharing that, but it was really a profound moment for me to see just not only that, but also the magic of enjoying beautiful things. There was a huge moment in my spiritual journey where I was like, burn it all down. I only need the minimal things. And I'm so glad I got over that, because of course the goddess wants to look beautiful. Of course the goddess wants to take care of herself. Of course the goddess wants to feel loved and nourished. And of course we have these beautiful things. Like, if we weren't meant to have beautiful things around us, the earth would not bud flowers. And so if we can allow ourselves to just honor the things that we desire in the physical, we will get over this idea that we're not supposed to. I think a lot of that came from feeling like I had to live or be like really humble from as a child. Like I couldn't enjoy worldly things. And yet it's one of the best, most beautiful things in your life to be able to say, I worked so hard for this beautiful money and I'm going to exchange it for something so stunning, this beautiful crystal that means so much to me, or this beautiful hair that I'm going to put in my head for extensions, whatever it is. So the beauty piece of the retreat really, really called to me, and so that's why I learned so much about ceremonial giving, ceremonially giving back. I learned so much about you love the beautiful things, give to the earth first. Always giving to the earth first. So, when I came home, it was one of the first things I did. I cleaned out, we just remodeled my office upstairs. And so I cleaned all of it out and I was able to hang it all up. It was just the most perfect timing because what am I doing right now in my home? I don't know if I've said this yet in the podcast, but I'm remodeling all her bathrooms. We're in like deep renewal. And of course we are, because our life mirrors our home and vice versa. So it was beautiful to come back and see these beautiful things that we've picked. I've never had a custom bathroom like this. One other time in my life, we remodeled the bathroom in our almost over 80-year-old house in Sugar House. And we used all like very, very, very basic stuff. And it was such a gift for me because I had never had a new bathroom. I've always had an older bathroom because we've just flipped homes. The bathrooms we're doing now, is this all over the place, this podcast? I just feel like it's perfect. Follow along if you want to. But it all has a point, I promise. But the bathrooms that I am remodeling now are so powerful because I chose things that really meant something to me, like custom made tile and, a bathroom with two shower heads, a shower with two shower heads, and like these beautiful, like literal rock sinks that I'm so excited about. And it wasn't even that it was like a lot more money. It was really intentional. And so, of course, I come home and everything just means more. And you think you're living an intentional life until you realize just how much more intentional you could be. And then it just blows your mind. So I actually just finished, like I said, today, cleaning and clearing this altar space. And then we gave an offering to the land. And it's just so powerful to feel and clean. We dust and we clean, but do we really actually pick up items that have maybe held or soaked up energy from maybe a negative experience with somebody coming in and out of your house? Like everything is energy, and if we really are present with the energy and helping that energy move and clear, then everything else can circulate easier. So it was fun to be able to be in her space for 2 weeks to really see how she's implementing that and how I can continue to implement that in my life. So that was really powerful. It was really powerful for me to see her and her husband working together. Her husband and her are very similar to Jeff and I. Jeff's like, her husband's like such a bro, and so is Jeff. And there's something that's happening that I've noticed, even with just within the last 6 months, and maybe it was happening earlier and I didn't realize it, but in the spiritual space where I really feel like the feminine is healing from this over feminine place where it's like all of these women were wanting spiritual men, and these spiritual men almost had like this wounded, over exaggerated feminine within them. This is what I've noticed. And so even at the beginning of my spiritual journey, I just like hated the fact that Jeff wasn't on board with me. Like, can you just like wear linen with me and want to use natural deodorant and want to drink water that doesn't have fluoride? Like, I wanted him to be just as spiritual as me. And when I say that, I mean literally the way that I was doing things spiritually. There's no reason why he isn't as spiritual as me in his own way. I just didn't see that. So as I've continued to, first of all, mind my own business and let him do what he wants to do, how cool has it been for me to see he's exactly who he needs to be? And also, it's not about me. And it's not about what I think that he should be or how spiritual I think he should be. I am so grateful that he's been on his own path and figured out his own way of honoring his masculine and his feminine. I cannot imagine having somebody, a man. I just couldn't imagine it in like my same realm and like feeling spirituality in my same way. Jeff holds the masculine so powerfully while also anchoring in that totality of the feminine and masculine within him. And it was so crazy how that was mirrored so beautifully by Amma and Jay. Because Jay, like, he used to, in his other job, he did a lot of construction, just like Jeff. And so, as they've continued to create this retreat center, he's used his blood, sweat, and tears literally as Jeff's doing the same thing in our bathrooms. Jeff has literally done all of the work himself beside the tile that just happened. And it's incredible to have a husband who is handy, who understands the 3D experiences of life. And I know this because even every retreat I've done up until this point, I couldn't have done it without him carrying in extra water for our backpacking, without him chopping wood, without him getting on a ladder and covering the lights for our Medicina experience. Like, there's so much that he's doing that I just frankly don't want to do. Like, I am too tired to want to be a feminist who wants to have a bro be like the same level as me in my own weird feminist way. I just, for me, do not feel like that is the future. And in fact, I see that it's changing and people are finally realizing that that's not the way. And men get to still be men. Thank God that men get to still be men. And he is such an anchor and a lighthouse for me. So to see this incredibly profound elder with her beautiful husband, both of them anchoring into their divine, roles, helped me really understand and really appreciate Jeff and his own role and what he can bring to the page. And I've been saying this to my community all the time because women all the time say, how do I get my husband on board? And one of the first ways is just to get out of his way and lead by example and just by like literally living your life, and he'll feel your frequency differently. And also just by letting him be him. To Jeff, a spiritual experience is riding a horse. To Jeff, a spiritual experience or connecting to the earth is chopping wood. Like, those are connecting him. He gets so many powerful spiritual downloads while working on the bathrooms, so that was really cool to see the magic of that. And also to see how prevalent divine union has been in my life, in the people that I choose to learn from, and also the people that choose to learn from me, and how, I've been married for 15 years now, and Jeff and I have been through a lot, and it's been really powerful to continue to mold and grow that. And it inspired me more and more to take the time finally to create the couples course that I've been wanting to do, or couples masterclass or group. I don't even know what it's going to be, but I know Jeff and I are both feeling into that really strongly. So that'll be really powerful. The next thing, obviously the BUFO was the most amazing thing. And there were so many powerful takeaways. The training in general was all about opening up the Akashic field. I'll get to BUFO in a second, by the way. But the training in and of itself was all about opening up the Akashic field, learning how to do so, learning how it feels to be in the Akashic field. What is the Akashic field? Learning, really ethical, trauma-informed practices on how to do that. And then also weaving that with sound, because that's Amma's bread and butter, is just like using all these powerful instruments and understanding that they all have their own energy and their own spirit and their own way of moving energy. So getting to know that more, especially since sound has been such a big piece of not just, my practice and my business, but also my life. Listening to my aunts harmonize in the kitchen, or singing with my mom growing up, or listening to the CDs that she would put on. Music has always been such an intricate part. And now to bring that into not just, my business, but my life, my plant medicine ceremonies, all these things. So I learned a lot about the power. We made powerful shakapas, which is a really, really beautiful tool, sound tool. We made rattles. Mine was with a shell. We just learned a lot about that. And the one thing I'll say about the Akasha that was really cool for me, and this is another thing, and if you're noticing, at the beginning of the podcast, I said everything that I learned was just, it was as if it was crystallizing everything that I had already learned and known up until that moment. It was like the ultimate integration. Those 2 weeks were like the ultimate integration of who I am. And I had to do everything before that for me to get what I wanted out of that. Right. So the 30 times I sat with grandmother, and the different certifications that I did, and everything that I did to prepare myself for this, it was just really cool to see all of the synchronicities. One of those really huge aha moments for me, where I learned oh my gosh, wait. It was like a deja vu within a deja vu within a deja vu, because it was like I've learned all of these things and now it's here. So learning about the Akasha from her was so powerful, because the Akashic is literally all the knowing of everything, right? So once we go in there and like really feel into it, it felt really familiar to me. I was like, oh, I know this. It's just my knowing. It's just the knowing that I've cultivated over years and years and years, almost like my intuition. Like when you feel something or know into something or feel into something or feel an energy or feel a ping or hear something, for me, it's all of that. It's a deep feeling. And my sense in human design is feeling. And so I literally, I don't know really how to explain it, but I feel into where there's blocks in people, or I feel into what maybe is off, or like I can feel the energy um, different. And then I'm able to identify what that energy is and explain it based off of the feeling. And that essentially is the Akasha, so that so you're going in and understanding and pulling and feeling and healing and celebrating and searching and finding all these different answers from this timeline that knows no timeline. And that was cool to really get to know and learn, because I was like, oh, unlocking the Akashic is just an awareness. It's literally just being extremely aware in a place of accountability and a place of knowing, so that you can then connect into these places. But it requires a lot. Like for me to be able to be a clear vessel for that, I have to be living in like divine integrity, which is another reason why education for me has been always 100% like on my first list of things to do, because it helps me stay in that space of accountability. It helps me stay in that space of integrity. And, and you don't fuck around in those places. You just don't. You don't. When you're working with a field like that, and when you're working with an understanding and cultivating a knowing within you, it just requires you to really be super vigilant on that. So that was really powerful to really connect that, and then connect the sound with the Akashic space. And I feel excited to implement what she's taught. She was able to really combine so many things that I've already known, and yet like package them so beautifully. So that was really beautiful. And now BUFO. Let's get into BUFO, shall we? Wow. Like I said, I had never been called to it ever. And then I'm trying to figure out how much I want to say about BUFO, about my experience. But when she was talking at the very beginning that she serves it, I had this vision of me serving it, which is literally insane. And medicines like that, I don't, I have an insane respect. I obviously serve other medicines, but you don't mess with BUFO. There's just such a reverence and years and years and years it takes to understand, in my opinion. Maybe not years and years, but a while. So it felt really shocking to me. I didn't know where that vision came from. It was like, wait, why do I feel this way? So I asked her, I was like, do people feel called to serve even before they've, done it? And she goes, oh, absolutely. And I hadn't even planned to do it. Because I thought that you had to stay like a couple days more after the couple weeks. But turns out that she had space on the day that there was a break. I just knew that I was supposed to do it. I just knew I was supposed to do it. And she was like, yeah, I'm working on creating a training. It'll be a year-long training. So don't worry, I'm not going to be serving that for a while. But I think there's a few things I really want to emphasize about this. First of all, there's a lot of really sacred things that I won't be sharing here that are just like, oh, that's why I felt called to that. And that's why that. And the goddess that is, the goddess of cacao and the goddess of BUFO, goddess Ishel, like that's why she's been calling to me literally in my light language, and why I feel so called to cacao and all these different things. I just cannot even believe how many synchronicities had brought me to that, not just that particular medicine, but that her as an elder and everything that's crystallizing in my body because of me saying yes to these experiences. And there's something to be said about, making sure you wait for the right facilitator. I said this at the beginning of the podcast, but I'm going to say it again. Like, I cannot imagine doing it with any other facilitator. And granted, I don't know a lot of facilitators in my area or in America in general, but I just feel like I have to share this. And I know I've shared this before, but if you are not sure of a lineage of a person who's carrying big, big, big medicines, particularly grandmother and BUFO, and if you're not sure and you get an opportunity to sit and you're just not sure, please listen to yourself. Please listen. I don't have enough time to talk about, at least not on this podcast, you know, this idea of bad experiences and bad trips and why I think that, all of them have a place and we can integrate all of them if we have to. However, if you can save yourself from having a bad experience with a facilitator, I hope that I can be a piece of that, which is why I created Simply Wild Medicina, but also why I'm sharing this piece here. Because I don't want to share this and then you be like, oh my gosh, this sounds exciting. I want to try BUFO and go try to find a facilitator, because that's not what we're doing here. Like, I don't even recommend necessarily that everybody goes into BUFO. Like, it was such an incredible, life-changing, blissful experience for me, but it was only that way, I think, because I could surrender, because I was ready. And that's really actually privileged and judgmental of me to say, because you could totally be ready and have the most incredible experience. But I also know, like, BUFO is incredibly intelligent and will only let you go as far as you're ready, I think. At least I feel in the experience of any kind of, medicine teachers that I've experienced. But I'm so grateful I waited and listened. And I think a lot of times when people get into this plant medicine space, they go so hard so fast and they're like, oh, what else can I try? Oh my gosh. Okay. So now there's cannabis and there's mushrooms. And oh wait, I'm actually going to start trying LSD too, and Molly. And oh, now I'm ready for grandmother. And oh, there's also San Pedro. And what about peyote? And oh, now there's BUFO. And oh, now there's combo. It's just so much on our nervous systems. And it's, frankly, I don't feel like it's necessary. I'm so grateful that in my experience, I'm being like really bold about what I'm saying. And I hope that everyone can understand that this is just my experience. And if you feel like you want to go hard on all the medicines, I just pray for you. But I'm so grateful that I've been able to intricately do these in like a very gentle way, because then I can feel the essence of each thing. I can really feel it and I can really integrate it and I can really honor it and understand it. BUFO is very, very short. It's like when you're in it, you don't really understand time. So I don't actually know how long I was under the medicine, but maybe like 10 minutes. Very sacred and special. People call it the God molecule, and it very much is that. And it goes beyond what you think God is or what you have defined God is. It goes beyond literally everything. It goes beyond the illusions and the dimensions of any other of literal anything, of any duality, of any right and wrong. It just blows everything out of the water and takes you to a place of the beginning. At least for me, this is my experience. And it was really powerful. Every other ceremony with grandmother, there have been moments where she's teaching me something. So I can't say that I've had one ceremony that's been pure bliss. This was pure bliss. I found myself weeping and howling and weeping and realizing that the emotion that I was feeling, the emotion of grief and the emotion of happiness and sadness all at the same time, was because I was noticing and realizing that none of these emotions are bad. In fact, all of them are God. So this feeling of sadness felt good in my body, because I realized that even sadness, and I've known this, but I actually like felt it like beyond a visceral level. So the weeping was like I was weeping to know that like it all came from source. It all came from the beginning of creation. And then like laughing hysterically and sounding. And there's no doubt in my mind I had to wait to sit with BUFO until after I did my dental surgery, because I did a whole bunch of dental work a few months ago. And I had to do that because I had so much, there was like a huge clearing in my jaw. I was able to move the frequency through my jaw. It was really powerful because I just felt who I am, and who I am is good. And I really believed that. And it really showed me that. And it was just beautiful. And I was absolutely terrified. I was so terrified. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't hear. I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad I go into these experiences just trusting that I'm supposed to do it rather than like Googling and researching. I think that actually ruins it a lot, because just like childbirth, you can't explain it. I definitely was rebirthed as a new person after, and integration was really tender. I felt very floaty for about a week, but it was really powerful because I really felt deeper than I've ever felt before that I was learning to marry heaven and earth together in my vessel of creation, in my body, in my form. And that's essentially what we're doing always. Is we are the conduits, we are, the receptors of heaven and earth together in our bodies. And to bring like spirituality and groundedness together is something that I think we're all trying to find in our own way. So for me to be able to really harness that and come home with that, I felt more grounded and also more connected to source than ever before. It's been really powerful. It's like, I feel like I got a complete reboot, honestly, of my nervous system, of my body. I've been going to the gym almost every day, and it hasn't been as difficult as it used to be to wake up in the morning. My family all got sick. I didn't get sick. I just feel more clear-minded. I feel more confident. I feel ready. And I feel like it was the perfect time for me to do that, before I say yes to welcoming all these new sacred rebels in for this year. My intention for the retreat was to easily prepare my body to step into the next highest self, the next highest timeline, to be able to hold more people, more women, to be able to get my message out there more, to be able to be more of a grounded conduit for my mission, which is ultimately the mission of God, like God's mission and Source's mission, right? And I got that. Like, it was just so profound. And it's been really powerful to integrate. And it's hard to put into words, even on this podcast. So it's really interesting how that all just came out. So if you're still with me, this podcast probably seems like all over the place, but it's just been so powerful. So first of all, thank you everyone for letting me kind of integrate on the podcast with you this experience. I got back from that 2 weeks, and then I had to leave again for another 3 days to do a team retreat to really prepare for 2024. And then I came home, hit the ground running with this launch and really being a present mom, and, dinners and school drop off and appointments. So I haven't really had a moment to sit and relish in the magic of just saying yes to an experience that you don't even know what you're getting yourself into. And I just can't even imagine saying yes to that training and that experience with BUFO, and, getting to know Amma more and just that whole experience. I can't imagine how different it would have been if I hadn't said yes, 7, 8 years ago, to yoga teacher training, and yes to hypnotherapy, and yes to my first plant medicine experience, and yes to a course I had no idea why I wanted to take, right? Like, every single time I said yes to something, I didn't understand why I wanted to say yes, but I said yes to it. It has brought me to another layer of not only myself, but another layer of my potential, another layer of like the beauty of this earth. We went to a beach that was so stunning and so beautiful, and we got to work with so many different alchemies of medicine. And I now have those medicines to bring back to my community. It's just insane when there's even just like a teeny hint of something that's saying, come on, like, you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're getting yourself into, but there's just something out there that's like calling you and you have no idea why. I challenge you. I invite you to just F around and find out, to just try it, to just see where it takes you. I'll end today's podcast with this. I shared this on my stories today, and I just feel like I want to really crystallize it and share it here. It's something I share in Sacred Rebels, but I shared it today because I'm in the ceremony of launching Sacred Rebels right now. And within the ceremony of launching, or in the ceremony of life in general, there's 4 stages. So we're always in ceremony, whether we understand it or not. We're in the ceremony of waking up in the morning, of taking a shower, of literally doing anything. If you were able to kind of see it that way, it actually makes life, it's almost like an elevated way of romanticizing your life. If you're like, I'm in the ceremony of doing dishes. Okay, I'm in the ceremony of making dinner. I'm in the ceremony of starting this month off right? Like all these different ceremonies of working out, whatever it is. We oftentimes think like we spend so much time preparing for medicine ceremonies. If we spent that much time preparing for our lives, imagine just how powerful and how quickly we would learn lessons and how much faster we would integrate things. Because the ceremony is essentially just doing something with intention and making sure that you're understanding that you're going to learn something from that. Like I choose to learn something while I'm doing the dishes, whether it's just that if I do it, they get clean, or whether there's something that drops in while I'm doing it. It's just a beautiful way to bring intention to your life. So there's 4 stages of the ceremony. One is the prep, getting ready for it, gearing up for it, saying yes to this experience, whether or not you know the outcome or not. The second is the letting go and the surrendering, the hardest part, argumentatively, of the whole ceremony is just saying, okay, I don't know, but here we go. The third part is the celebration. It's the aha moment. It's the breakthrough. It's when the come up of the medicine is done and you're in that frequency and you allow yourself to let go and surrender to whatever it is that wants to come through to the messages, and you're in the bliss of it all. The fourth part is the integration, really allowing yourself to not just go back to what it was before, because even after every time you do the dishes, you're different. After every time you shower, you're different. We are consistently changing and molding and shifting. And we have a choice to evolve with each of those moments, or just to let them to see them as like a mundane experience. I think we've been lied to and told that like life is mundane. And that's why I think a lot of us run to plant medicine experiences, maybe to like feel this excitement, when really you can get what you want out of anything you desire if you choose to believe that. So if you want like a really prolific experience washing dishes, maybe create it like a ceremony. Maybe treat it like a ceremony and see what happens with that. So everything's a ceremony. Right now, I'm in the ceremony of launching. And I'm in that spot where where it's the let go and the surrender. And this particular this particular launch is long. It's like 6 weeks long, which is really long for a launch. Usually it's like a couple weeks, but I've really felt called. I usually keep Sacred Rebels a little bit longer open because it's the only time it's open in the year. So I have to really trust. I mean, the doors have literally been open for 1 day officially. And I already have a lot of women coming in. And it's all been beautiful, but I can feel me wanting to hold on. I can feel me wanting to hold on to something, wanting to control. And so I am at the stage where I have to just let go and trust that everything I've done up until this point is enough. I have to trust that the way I show up is perfect. I have to trust that if I let go, this is the hardest part, is like the letting go and letting go of control. Even more can come for you. Even more people will feel the frequency, and they'll feel it from a relaxed, beautiful state. Now, I'm talking specifically, obviously, about my launch, but this is everything. Like, imagine prepping for doing the dishes and then letting go of this idea that you're just so sick of doing the dishes, and then going into the celebration of like, man, how exciting that I get to see them go from dirty to clean and then integrating that. Okay, so what does that mean? So not I get to choose how my attitude is, or I get to choose what I come from this, and maybe something like I said, prolific drops in on along the way. But I share that because we're always in a ceremony. We're always in the ceremony, and the sooner that we can learn to let go and surrender, the sooner that we'll realize that everything's working for us, that everything has a message for us, even if it's like, just calm down and dance, or just like, take it easy, or healing doesn't have to be hard. Those are really profound messages. Or take the leap, just do it. Say yes to yourself. Sign up for whatever it is that you're wanting to sign up for. Say yes to Sacred Rebels if it keeps coming into your atmosphere, right? Whatever it is. I really believe that if we were to learn that faster, man, imagine the quantum leaps we would have over and over and over. It would just be so profound. And I wouldn't have had the life-changing experience that I did with BUFO if I had held on. There, you just can't there. You literally cannot. Like, I had no other choice but to surrender, which is why I'm so glad I waited for Alma, because I was able to fully surrender and let go of literally everything because I felt safe in her frequency. Everything opened up for me. And I just don't know how else to say it other than that. I wish there were English words to explain just how powerful and profound that is. But if we can really let go of that specific moment in our ceremony, in our daily ceremonies, and our hourly ceremonies, man, not only will we learn things more quickly, but also how much more enjoyable will life actually be? A lot more enjoyable. So do something for you today. Go be wild. Go live your ceremonial life and let go and be wild. I love you so much. Sacred Rebels is officially open. It closes, the doors close March 8th, and the early bird price closes next week, February 8th. I'd love to see you there. DM me if you have questions, or DM Rebel 2024, and the landing page will be sent to you in your DMs. Love you so much.